This recording of Oberlin Community Candidates Night, held September 20, 2022, was created by Myranda Montoye, convener of the Oberlin Students for Civic Engagement and co-chair of Oberlin Community Candidates Night Planning Committee.
Louder. All right. Good evening. I'm Myranda Montoye, chair of Oberlin College Students for Civic Engagement and co-chair of the Oberlin Community Candidates Night Planning Committee. Welcome to the 2022 Candidate Forum. I want to thank the OCCN committee for putting this event together and ask that they stand and be recognized. Their names are on the back of the fact sheet that you were given when entering this evening. The Oberlin Community Candidates Night has, for more than 30 years, been presented by a nonpartisan coalition of organizations, including churches of different denominations and nonprofit community organizations. This is the first year that OCCN has been held on campus, and we contacted every candidate in a contested race several times, including the state level candidates who are on the Oberlin ballot. We also invited other colleges and universities in the area to join us. I must emphasize that this remains a nonpartisan forum intended to give candidates and voters time to hear from each other. It is not a debate. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Charles Peterson, Associate Professor of Africana Studies and former Councilman of the City of Oberlin, who will moderate tonight's session.
Thank you, Myranda, and thank you to the Oberlin Community Candidates Night Committee for your good work and for inviting me to participate in tonight's forum. I'm very proud to be here. Welcome to everyone, especially to all the candidates.
The recording's working here?
Yeah.
Okay. That might be the only recording that we're going to get.
It's on the phone.
Oh. Once again, welcome to everyone, and especially the candidates. Thank you for agreeing to participate, and thank you to all audience members for giving your time and attention to these important proceedings. Voting is an essential step in the process of democracy. In exercising our choice for elective office, we affirm our faith in the democratic process. By being informed voters, we are able to make informed choices on election day. By joining us this evening, you are affirming a participatory democracy. Let me explain how tonight's forum will proceed. As you came in, you picked up a copy of the fact sheet. Everyone have a copy of the fact sheet?
Yeah, I got it.
All right, so we have one copy of the fact sheet. Would you like to share the fact sheet?
It looks like that.
So I assume there are fact sheets that will be distributed. The fact sheet provides an outline for the evening. Note that the proceedings, right, if you'd like a fact sheet, just raise your hand. Once again, the fact sheet provides an outline for the evening. Note that the proceedings are being recorded and live streamed, so please silence your cell phones and refrain from conversation, applause, or other audible responses to candidates that might interfere with the recording. All candidates will have 90 minutes for, 90 seconds. Unbeknownst to you, we'll be here for a few days. Change clothing. All candidates will have 90 seconds for an opening statement. They will be asked 3 questions, and they will have 90 seconds to answer those 3 questions. The first question will come from the OCCN Planning Committee. Then the remaining 2 questions will come from the audience. We'll get 3 questions, 1 from the OCCN, the remaining 2 from the audience, 90 seconds to answer each question. If there are no questions from the audience, the committee will offer the remaining 2 questions. Given the number of candidates participating, we will not have time for closing statements, but invite everyone to join the candidates afterwards for a formal conversation if you have follow-up thoughts or comments. Refreshments will be available in the further common just outside the Dial Lecture Hall entrance. First, we will hear from State Representative Joseph Miller, currently serving as representative for District 56. He is seeking re-election to the Ohio House of Representatives to represent District 53. In this first segment, I'm sorry, no. Is that it? Yeah. That's right. In this first segment, we will also hear from Bryan Burgess, candidate for State Representative, House District 54. After they answer questions, next will be the candidate for the State Board of Education, State Senator for the 13th District, Treasurer of State, and Representative to Congress's 5th District. After the statewide candidates are the candidates for the county offices of Lorain County Auditor and Lorain County Commissioner, followed by 5 candidates for positions in the Lorain County Judicial System. Our timekeeper this evening is Janet Garrett. I'm sorry. Please everyone, Janet. Applaud now. Much like Vanna White, she will hold up a yellow card when there are 15 seconds left for candidates, and a red card when your time is up. You may finish your thoughts when you see the red card, and then please help us to move on. Questions from the audience will be reviewed by members of the OCCN committee so that they may focus on those that are of interest to a broad range of attendees and viewers. Each of you were given a note card when entering, so please write your question on the card and pass it to a volunteer on the aisle. Does everyone have note cards? All right, if you like a note card, please raise your hand. I'm sure they'll be distributed to you. Just hold up the card when you receive it, and then write a question if you have a question, and then submit it to the volunteer on the aisle. So we'll begin with candidates for state representative. Mr. Miller, Mr. Burgess, please come to the stage. You each have 90 seconds for opening statements. Mr. Miller first, and Mr. Burgess, please come to the podium so you can be recorded.
I guess I'll go first. I'm going to hang on just a second.
Recording in progress.
Hi, this is good to be back in my district. It'll always be my district. District 56. I've represented you for 4 years. I've represented Joe Miller. I just go by Joe, as everybody knows when they see me. Looking forward to representing District 53, continuing in the House. That district has been truncated and moved to the lake, where I will represent from Amherst all the way to Avon Lake. So 90 seconds and 90 minutes, I hope to be halfway to Columbus. So in 90 seconds, I hope to really quickly give you an update. So the update is this. There's a lot of policy going on, some good, mostly bad in the State House. There's a lot of corruption going on, always bad in the State House, and I'm sure I've got an Attorney General candidate. We'll talk more about that. But what I would say is to the students here at Oberlin, when we take these oaths of office and we look to represent you, it isn't always about these bills and appropriation. It's about constituent work. And that constituent work can be something as it seems apparently small as a crosswalk connecting Science to Wilder. And I have called both City and Rob Hillard and the director here at Oberlin, and they both have committed to me a crosswalk. So if that doesn't happen, let me know, and I will make that unpleasant phone call to them again. But that's what we do. We try to make government work for you. So with that, my red card is up. I've never gotten one because I never played soccer. So I don't know what that means. I'll just go sit down and let Mr. Burgess take over.
I'm not going to need Joe. There you go.
Thanks.
So, good evening, everyone. My name is Bryan Burgess. I'm currently the City Council President and Mayor of Oberlin. I was elected to City Council in 2010. I served 10 years on council. Took 2 years off. We have term limits in Oberlin. I came back in January. I came back in the midst of a redistricting fiasco that was going on in the state of Ohio. Saw an article in the newspaper that said there was an opportunity to run for the State House because Mr. Miller would no longer be the representative for Oberlin. So, I am running to represent the newly constituted 54th District in the State House, that is Southern Lorain County, including Oberlin, Huron County, City of Norwalk, and in Erie County, the cities of Huron and Vermilion. I grew up in Oberlin, graduated from Oberlin High School, went to New Mexico State University, got my degree in business computer systems, worked for the Las Cruces Public School District for a few years, came back to Oberlin to join the family business. My father's an electrician. I joined him installing solar arrays, wind turbines, renewable energy projects. It was fantastic. We installed the largest solar array in Ohio, right here at Oberlin College. Got your vote. Thank you very much. I look forward to questions.
Speaking of questions, the first question for the candidates is, what is one of the most troubling issues that persists in Lorain County, and what action do you propose to address the issue? Should we come up? Yes, please come up. Remember, this is being recorded on Zoom, so please come up.
Some of us being recorded.
Some of it's being recorded. We have a lot of issues. We have a lot of issues in Lorain County, and first and foremost, if somebody tells you Lorain County is a dying county, don't believe them. We're actually in a rebirth. We have seen new investment, but that takes an investment by the state of Ohio, some help from the federal, and some at the local level to work together with us and facilitate good investment, not only in infrastructure, but also in the human element. That means investing in education, public schools, workforce development, higher ed. We have seen funds cut at the local level. We've seen funds cut to higher education, putting more and more students in debt. And I think that it's time that we reevaluate what we're doing down there, give us control of the House and Senate, and let us start working for you and not for special interests, not for the money, people here in Ohio, and not for big business. So with that, we've got a lot of work to do. A great idea. We've already seen it. We've already seen Ford open up. I will be going next Friday up to Ford and hearing from them exactly what that investment in Lorain County is going to be. We have the lake. We have a beautiful set of metro parks here. We got an amazing college right in the heart of Lorain County. I think we're primed in position to do really, really well with the right leadership. And I see a lot of the right leadership sitting in front of me. Thank you.
Same question?
Same question.
Same question. Let me tell you what happened last night. We had an Oberlin City Council meeting. We passed funding for a job training program, training placement, 16 weeks or 32 weeks. Any resident of Oberlin could attend Bryan County Community College, get trained for a new skill and a new job, free of charge. Covered by the City of Oberlin, and thanks to the American Rescue Plan passed by the Democrats in Congress and President Joe Biden. You know, funding for education in Lorain County has been difficult in the past few years. You might be aware that there was a large natural gas pipeline that came through all of northern Ohio. It's called the Nexus Pipeline. There was a promise made to local school districts that they would receive tax revenue based on the value of that pipeline. From Pennsylvania all the way to Michigan. It passed through Lorain County. Lorain County schools are not going to receive what they were promised in tax revenue from that pipeline. It's very frustrating. In Fireland School District, just adjacent to Oberlin, they recently had to repay $2 million to a local business because that business isn't paying its fair share in taxes. It's extremely frustrating when we need to fund our public schools today and we have corporations not paying their fair share. And we need to fix that in Columbus.
Second question from the audience. How do you think Democrats and Republicans can work together in the State House to promote clean energy in Ohio? Bipartisan question.
first. There's a pattern here, Professor. Bryan keeps handing it up. Well, you know what? To get anything done right now, we're in the minority. And you have to, and even if we're in the majority, you still have to work across the aisle. Because we need to do what's best for all Iowans, not just those that are in power and those that we represent. So some of the things that we need to do is understand that we're not going to overnight go from where we're at today, dirty energy, to completely clean, renewable energy tomorrow. It just isn't physically possible. And not only that, the infrastructure is not there, but we have to start yesterday. Not today, yesterday. And what we're going to need to do to be able to do that is make sure we have a base load of renewable, clean, carbon-free energy. And I did support those two nuclear plants staying online because that's the only way we can transition to renewable energy. Those two have to stay online. I'd rather keep those online than up the coal burning, up the gas burning, so we can wait until we get enough solar arrays and enough turbines in there. And by the way, we should all be excited. The lead projects going forward, we're going to see wind and many, many megawatts coming off of Lake Erie. So I'm excited about that. I'll let you get the rest out.
I think Joe and I are pretty good at tag teaming this. Some of you might know the story of Oberlin. Oberlin was faced with a choice. Do we commit to a 50-year contract with a coal-fired power plant, or do we do something different and something else? At the time, we didn't know what. Some people said the Oberlin would freeze in the dark. We did not. We did not. Today, Oberlin is 85% carbon neutral power. We provide the rest of it 15% through renewable energy certificate purchases. Oberlin College's commitment to sustainability in the future wouldn't be possible if we hadn't made that commitment 10 years ago with Oberlin's power plant, and we can do the same thing for Ohio. Joe's right, it's going to take a little bit longer. You know, Ohio has the distinction of being the only state to have rescinded its renewable portfolio standard. A tiny fraction, 3% of the power in Ohio is committed to coming from renewable sources, but apparently that was just too much for Republicans in Columbus. And when we see a bribery scandal, $60 million paid out to the Speaker of the Ohio House for a $1.2 billion bailout to First Energy for a coal plant in Illinois. You know, we should be making investments in our future for renewable energies, not for the fossil fuels of yesterday. We can make those changes in Columbus. We made them in Oberlin. We can make that.
And the third and final question. What has not been sort of publicly discussed for quite some time, but it's certainly an important issue to small communities like Oberlin. The question is, what can be done at the state level to deal with the erosion of home rule that's taken place over the last 10, 15 years, coming from the state house? That's the question.
The topic of home rule was ensconced in the Ohio Constitution in 1912. It provided that communities would provide for the peace, health, and safety of their citizens. Now, at that time, it was expected that the state would provide state-level services, think roads, taxation, mutual defense through the National Guard, that sort of thing. Largely, localities took care of themselves. That has been eroded away over time. One of the issues that was near and dear to my heart was Ohio Revised Code 6.22. And ask me why I know that. Oberlin was invaded by Ohioans for concealed carry in 2014. They decided that they would hold a gun rally in our local city park. Oberlin residents met them with signs, and they met us with guns. And they were able to do that because the state co-opted our home rule authority. We had this innocent law on the books that said you can't bring a gun to a city park. The state struck that down and took that authority away from us. And so the same park where my children played on a Sunday afternoon we were head-to-head with gun protesters. That law stood. Oberlin fought that in court, and we lost. Because the Republicans controlled the State House, they wrote the law, it was found to be constitutional, and that's that. It shouldn't be.
You know, Mr. Burgess is right. We've seen home rule in that example. Just in the last GA, if you wanted to ban plastic bags in your city, at your stores, the state said, we believe in home rule so much that we are going to prevent them, the cities, the villages, from making the decision to ban plastic bags if they want. And it's not just guns or plastic bags, it's actually in their efforts to defund local entities and institutions. That's how they're taking away home rule. Because they have defunded local governments, they have reduced the amount of local government funds, which allows us to put police on the roads, allows us to fix our roads, allows us to not have to rely on income tax, levies, and so forth. Not only have they done that, they've defunded public schools. And they put the burden, here's where they're all about home rule. Thank you. They're all about home rule when it's you pay your property tax for public education, the common good, educating the common people. And we have failed to do that. And I'm not going to be thrown in there with a we, but we as a state of Ohio and the leadership there has failed. It's time to put the leadership that will do that will come in and give home rule back and be cognizant of what they've done in the past and try to reverse that. And we have Supreme Court justices, appeals court justices. I'm going to kind of put in a big chime for these wonderful people sitting here. They're going to help us in that arena as well. So thank you.
Thank you. We will now hear from 3 candidates for state level positions and 2 candidates for representative to the United States Congress. So,
May we ask?
you may.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you again. The candidates for state level position and the 2 candidates for the representative to the United States Congress, please join us on stage. Teresa Fedor for State Board of Education, District 2. Fedor, my apologies. Teresa Fedor. Craig Swartz, running for representative to the Congressional 5th District. Vincent Licursi, who is running for representative to the Congressional 7th District. Thank you for joining us this evening. Anthony Eliopoulos for State Senator, 13th District. Scott Schertzer, Treasurer of State. And Jeffrey Crossman, State Attorney General. Please join us. Each candidate will have 90 minutes. That's how much political judgment. I hear all of you speak all night long. Will not be at all. First 90-second statement will be from Ms. Fedor.
Well, good evening. As a former classroom teacher, I know 90 minutes. So it was great to be in the rain again. I have been in the rain many times with my great friend Joe Miller, fighting the Rain Public Schools ABC Commission that Casey put upon them unfairly, and he rigged the system so he could take as many public schools as he could to privatize public education. A little bit about me. Classroom teacher, before that, an Air Force veteran, Air National Guard, one of 7 children. My parents taught us that, I didn't know about prejudice. I didn't know about this. They saw everyone equally and respected everyone equally. So when I got into the world of the Air Force and so forth, I didn't realize what the world really was like. But now, as a state representative, I have a great measuring tool from my parents and the values that they instilled into their children and the hard work that they put into us. So after the Air Force, I decided to go into public education. I taught 18 years. I realized that we have an unfair school funding formula. The Supreme report kept saying we have unfair school funding, unconstitutional. So I left the classroom to go to the State House, never been there, so I got sworn in. So I've been in the State House 22 years looking for the solution. Last year we got a solution put together by the grassroots, local folks advocating for strong public education to modernize it, and we still are not there after 25 years. So I'm going for a state school board to bring that experience and practical common sense to the school board, because they are way off base with all their extreme platitudes and resolutions, and they even had one today. So thank you very much.
Mr. Swartz?
Figure it speed it up. Thank you for having me here tonight. Our country finds itself at one of its most defining moments in history. We're standing at a fork in the road with multiple and misleading signposts, but it's clear to me, and I'm sure for the rest of you, that MAGA Republicans want to take us down the dark fascist road that strips away women's rights, further reduces our civil and political rights, and steals our economic rights right from under us. That's the low road. I vow to take the high road, and I am so honored to be in this position running for federal office to defend, protect, and restore women's reproductive health care rights in this moment of time. And as you all know, we shouldn't have to be doing this, but here we are, and I'm more than ready, willing, and able to do my part in codifying on a national level the right of women to choose. I'm also ready to further strengthen and expand Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security as a means of securing your economic rights in the future. They want to take all of that away, which you have paid for and you are continuing to pay for. These programs ensure your economic viability in the future. I am running to protect and secure them. And to help those that work the hardest and need the most help, I am proposing my All-American Tax Act, which will be the first tax cut in the history of this country that benefits every single American equally. The first $36,000 of every single working and retired American's income would be federally tax-free. That means an extra $3,000 to $4,000 per year, which will help those facing hard times despite food, energy, and rent. I'm Craig Swartz, and I'm asking for your support and your vote this November. Thank you.
My name is Vincent Licursi, and I'm running for Congressional District 5. I'm here today because Alison gave me a chance. I'm running for Congress to honor my grandmother, who saved our home from foreclosure auction when my family was bankrupt. I'm here because real people deserve real advice from real leaders like my grandmother. Concentrate on your health, your wealth, and your happiness. Focus on that. Maybe the government will follow your example. I'm here today because not a single politician in my city, in my county, and in my district is willing to stand up and say that peace is good and war is wrong. That I don't want to fund a proxy war in Ukraine that's killing 200 human beings a day, that's turning cities into graveyards, that's causing an international refugee crisis. I'm running because I'm pro-humanity. You deserve a government that's less polarized, more unified. You deserve pragmatic leaders that believe in doing the most good for the most people. My mother's a conservative. My father's a liberal. Who would you have me side with? Who should I cancel? Can you not see how insane this tribalism is? You deserve better. We can do better. I'm going to do better. And that's why yesterday I pledged 100% of my congressional pay to 17 local charities and organizations focused on doing good for everybody. So if you believe in the words that I've said, join me, stand with me help these people. Write in vince.com. Thank you.
Well, good evening. I'm Anthony Eliopoulos. I'm the Democratic nominee for the Ohio Senate's 13th District. So this district encompasses all of Lorraine County, parts of Erie, and parts of Huron County. It's made up of 3 House seats, that Bryan and Joe, and then another candidate, Reagan Phillips, that on the Democratic side. I got into this race because we need new leadership that's ready to face the challenges today and the challenges that we don't even know are yet to come. Growing up my whole life, I've been told from teachers, the media, even my parents, that our political discourse is all about big government versus small government. I don't know about you all, but that's not how I see it. I see it in where is that power concentrated. And so much today, that power has been siphoned to the top. Corporate power has been siphoned to the top, and government power has been siphoned to the top. My whole theme of my campaign is community growth over personal gain. And to me, that means restoring that concentration of power to the fundamental level, and that's our communities. Joe mentioned earlier, 3% of the state budget goes to local governments. That's really not enough. And then you get the trickle effects of local governments need to increase property tax rates so they can fund their education system. And that's because the state has failed to give them the proper resources they need to grow and expand as a community. So I'm Anthony Eliopoulos again, running for the state senate. Thank you all.
Mr. Schertzer?
Thank you. Professor, I just want to thank you for saying my name correctly. That's highly unusual, but there are some unusual names on the ticket today. Good evening, everybody. My name is Scott Schertzer. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for showing interest in your government and the issues that face us today. I appreciate being in Lorraine County and Oberlin. My name is Scott Schertzer. I am currently the mayor of my hometown. I'm in my 15th year, the city that I was born and raised in. I also, for a hot second, 4 years ago, was Connie Pillage's running mate for lieutenant governor. I say hot second because it was only for 30 days. But the bug bit me, and that's why I'm back. Because I got tired of sitting in the mayor's office, watching and listening to what was happening in Columbus, much of what you have heard here tonight, and will continue to hear tonight. Also, I was the former president of the Ohio Municipal League, which represents municipal governments across the state of Ohio and advocates for them. Again, many of the issues that you have heard here tonight. Some of the issues that are important here are the pro-choice issues. I am very proud to be endorsed by Planned Parenthood and Pro-Choice Ohio, and I hope I have the opportunity to explain to you about my 2 young adult daughters is the reason that I am so staunchly in support of the pro-choice issue in our state. Because I'll stand with my daughters for their right to choose. I will use my voice to speak on behalf and with them for their right to choose. And I will cast my vote this November for pro-choice candidates in the state of Ohio to make sure that women have the right to choose in our state. Thank you.
And Mr. Crossman.
Good evening, and thank you for having me this evening. My name is State Representative Jeff Crossman. I currently serve in the Ohio House representing the 15th House District, so I bring you greetings from the land of White Sox and pink flamingos, Parma, Ohio. Didn't wear either today. But look, I'm running for Ohio Attorney General because I think the state of Ohio deserves an Attorney General that, number 1, tells the truth, number 2, gets the law correctly, and 3, apologizes when they make mistakes, and 4, actually holds people accountable for things like the largest public corruption scandal in the state's history. $61 million in bribes to secure a $1 billion bailout. 2 years later, not one person has yet gone to prison. And I think I grew up in this state when accountability actually mattered, when doing the right thing actually mattered. It wasn't a right versus left issue, it was a right versus wrong issue. And that's the kind of common sense government we need to bring back to Columbus, and that's the kind of tenacity I'm going to fight for you for in Columbus. My campaign is pro-worker, it's pro-choice, and it's pro-accountability. What's happening in our state is honestly just simply disgusting what's happening. And, the Attorney General is going to be the one office that's going to be standing in between the ballot issue for abortion or whether or not it gets pushed aside. Because the Attorney General is the office that actually oversees and approves the language. So, look, I grew up as a working class kid in Wycliffe, Ohio, single mom, tight budget, and we knew that this state represented opportunity if we let people have that opportunity. And the gerrymandering, the corruption, the extremism, we need someone in the AG's office who can put the brakes on that, and I'm your guy. I'm the one that kicked Larry Householder out of the Ohio House. So, thank you very much.
The first question, and this question is for all of the candidates, what in your life experience, education, and professional skills best qualifies you to serve in the office you are seeking? Mr. Crowe.
Hello again. I think my life experience, I think Ohio deserves leaders that look like them, which is why I'm proud to be on such a diverse ticket this year, that have the same experiences as most Ohioans do. And like I was saying, I was raised by a single mom in a working class environment. We all understood the challenges of what it takes to get ahead in Ohio. And, quite frankly, there were times in our household we didn't have food in the refrigerator, we got food from the church. So, I understand the challenges that people face. And I've been all over this state, and I've seen the empty buildings, including the empty buildings in my hometown where jobs used to be. And I can tell you, I was in Portsmouth on Labor Day, and they pointed to a building that had just been recently renovated. It was formerly the home of the largest shoelace manufacturer in the world, right here in Portsmouth, Ohio. And now it's a treatment center for opioid addicts. So I think people that understand, what the challenges are in Ohio should be leading Ohio. And that's why I think I'll be your better Attorney General candidate than the current person holding the office. Thank you.
Thank you. As I mentioned in my opening remarks, as mayor for 15 years of my hometown has prepared me for this campaign this year, but I also served on Marion City Council for 9 years. But in my early days in public policy, in 1990, I started out with my very first job working for somebody that you might recognize. I worked for 3 giants public servants in the state of Ohio. The first one was Sherrod Brown in 1990. And I learned a great deal from Sherrod Brown and what it means to have honor and credibility and accountability as a public official. And then I had the pleasure to work on Senator John Glenn's re-election campaign in 1992. And you talk about a true American hero. My heart still patters when I think about Senator Glenn and what he has done for this country. But the number one thing that has prepared me for the job of the state treasurer more than anything is that I had the honor to work for the only person in American history to be a county treasurer, a state treasurer, and then a United States treasurer, and that is Mary Ellen Withrow. So I am very familiar with the programs and duties and responsibilities in the state treasurer's office because of my tenure with Mary Ellen Withrow. And I am proud to say that she is very active and engaged in this campaign that I'm in for the treasurer's race this year. She is my treasurer. She is a hometown girl from Marion, Ohio, and those are some of the issues and some of the reasons. The main issue facing us right now is transparency and the accountability. The treasurer is supposed to be a watchdog of the state's investments. Everybody knows that a watchdog is on guard 24/7, 365, not just during an election year. And I will be on guard 24/7, 365 days a year. Thank you.
So I'll start with my professional experience. In my He's 26. Well, I had the pleasure, just like Scott, I worked for Senator Sherrod Brown for about 3 years, right out of college. And in this role, it's when the American Rescue Plan Act was passed. And I got to reach out to deep red counties, Republican county commissioners, who didn't agree with Senator Brown, didn't agree with where we stood by. But when we told them about these funds, what they would do for their local communities, they would simply say, we've needed this funding our entire time in office. And they have been neglected, and these counties didn't have anyone's back. When I went there, they were just shocked that anyone from Senator Brown's office would even reach out. So professionally, I think that's what I bring to the table. I'm willing to go where other people aren't. And then personally, when I was in basic training, I enlisted in 2016. My father passed away from his battle with cancer. And at that point, I was 19 years old. It was the toughest time of my life. But there was one thing that kept me going, and that's what you would always tell me, is just ride it out. And much like you, I've seen where our country's going. It's a difficult time for all of us, but we just have to keep riding it out. And I won't give up, just like I wouldn't give up at basic training. So thank you all for being here again. I think you being here and then wanting to have a discourse with your candidates and your public officials, that's what our democracy is all about. And we are so close to losing grasp of it, so we have to hold on. Thank you, guys.
I grew up in a 1,300 square foot home on Wilbur Road with well water you couldn't drink and no air conditioning. When it rained hard, Mom, my sister, and I would get buckets and head into the basement to try to control the flood damage. I persevered through a contentious custody battle in which both parents filed for bankruptcy and the winning parent didn't take us. When I say that I understand the pain and hardship of real people, I really mean it. I was able to garner an athletic scholarship to play baseball at Wheeling Jesuit University. And after graduation, I found success in retail, manufacturing, distribution, real estate, and college baseball coaching most recently. I'm standing here today a self-made millionaire, and I believe with all my heart that with the right leaders in place, doing the most good for the most people, that they too can do the same thing. So please support me and help me help these people. Write at Vince.com.
I was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. Spent the first 20 years of my life there. Graduated from Ohio State University with a degree in political science. And decided to go see the world. I had been studying for 16 years behind a desk. I had $400 in my back pocket, a passport, backpack, and a will to go, one-way ticket. That small investment turned into the next 20 years, spending mostly abroad, 4 different countries, 2 different continents, coming back, working in Washington, D.C., New York City, even Columbus. The last 20 years I've spent in Northwest Ohio working a variety of jobs, bringing up an autistic son in an area that had no idea about autism, and learning firsthand, working these jobs with people side by side, experiencing their pain and suffering just as much as I was doing. Working forklift, driving a truck, selling real estate, doing substitute teaching, just doing just about anything. And so I bring to the table a unique blend of international experience, hard work experience in Hardscrabble, Ohio, and seeing firsthand how these communities have been decimated by the bad trade policies that have existed for the last 20 years. Actually going back 30, 40 years. The unions being broken up and everything else. So this has driven me to get back into the politics, do something, do the right thing. This is why I'm running. Thank you.
I think that's a great question. I'm going to go back to the personal life that I've lived. As one of the oldest girls of 7, 3 girls 3 boys. I had live baby dolls to take care of. Because we were too poor to really have the Barbie dolls and the plastic dolls. And so, I didn't realize how important that was going to be for my future. But, my parents really instilled, work ethic. I decided at 9 years old I was going to go into the military because that was my way out of White House, Ohio, which is a 4-corner shop. And decided that I knew it would have to be me that forged my future. But I knew I had a great foundation, so I was part of the first female Air Force flight to go through the obstacle course during the Vietnam War. I broke a ceiling and didn't even know it. I thought that's what you were supposed to do. And that really taught me in that experience that when you work together and you have goals, you can make it. After that, I went into teaching, came home, went into teaching. But during that time, I was a single mom, welfare, food stamps. I fed my son before I got back. So I was underneath the bottom of the barrel, crawled up and went down to the bottom of the barrel. And then through college education and my goal of teaching kindergarten, I wanted to be a kindergarten teacher for 35 years, so now I just treat everyone like they're in kindergarten, which is why I passed all the human trafficking legislation in Ohio. I did that. I worked. And when you work together and you make those foundations, you can accomplish something. So I'm running for the State Board of Education because we need someone like me there. There's a lot of foolishness going on. They're not taking care of business to develop a modern public education that our children deserve. Go to teresafedor.com. Join me. Let's get this done. I love Lorraine. You're going to see me more than most of your other politicians, I guarantee you. Thank you.
And now the second question from Mrs. Fedor, an audience question. What 3 things most distinguish you from an incumbent on the State Board of Education?
I show up. I listen. I work for you. The counties that this incumbent has really deserted are Wood County, Lucas County, continually, never showing up when invited. Would show up when there was some kind of crazy MAGA rally against parents in schools and public education. She wants to burn it down, but she doesn't have a solution after they burn it down. Does that sound right? Right. So I've been working on public education, 18 years in the classroom, 22 years in the legislature. I know what's been going on. I know and saw ECOT happen, the politically connected, politicians. ECOT's $117 million debacle. Bigger than First Energy. And there's no end in sight in getting your tax dollars back. We will be in court battles for the next 10 years. So you need someone who knows what they're doing, going to work to get solutions, going to make it happen. Besides, I built a movement in human trafficking in the state of Ohio that made Republicans 2 times with just my name on the bill do that work. How did I do that? I went to the people, taught them, educated them on how we're going to advocate to get something done. That's what I'm willing to do on the State Board of Education and be the leader that you deserve.
An audience question for Mr. Swartz. In a historically Republican district, how do you plan to attract more conservative voters?
That's a great question. Our plan is very simple. We're just laying it out. I mean, they've taken away, and this was just 2 months ago with the Doss decision. I can't tell you how many independent and Republican men and women have come up to me and told me that was a bridge too far for them. That they're going to vote Democrat this year. The amount of corruption that the hardest conservative imaginable cannot fathom any longer in this state and this country. And when you talk about home rule, again, they're going against their own conservative values because true conservatism is reducing it down to the smallest political entity and allowing that person or that entity the absolute freedom to do what they want. So it's really a matter of just laying it out there that they are being so hypocritical to their own values. And we've done that, and we continue to do that all the way through November. And I believe we really have a strong chance here of bringing some of the conservatives back to us, or over to us for at least the time being. I strongly believe that. And we need all of you actually to have those uncomfortable conversations with those conservative people and get them to support our cause this November. Thank you.
Question from Mr. Eliopoulos. Funding for an upgrade for a park in Oberlin has been voted against. Voted down, I assume. Do you commit to working to bring necessary needed funds to Oberlin?
Of course, and this is the fundamental issue that we have. If you want to build a park in Oberlin, your biggest and most effective option is to go to your state legislature and try to pitch your case and plead to them, can we build this park? And then the state legislator has the power to appropriate funds, and it's all about appropriation, so they can throw their name on it, and they can come to Oberlin and say, look what I did. I built you this park. I helped get it passed. That's so backwards. That's what I'm talking about is community growth first. If you give the resources to the communities, they don't need to beg the state for appropriations. They internally are able to build a park in themselves. And then you're in a position where I'm from Lorraine, and what if I have them build a park in Lorraine, build a park in Oberlin? That's not on the state senate level. It shouldn't be on the state senate level. That's the community level. And the reason why the communities have to focus and turn to the state is because the state has failed them year after year, each time they cut government funding from the local communities. Thank you.
Second question for Mr. Schertzer. What new processes would you recommend to safeguard and improve investments of the Ohio Treasury while increasing transparency about management of the public's funds?
Thank you for the question. Excuse me. There's a little known responsibility in the state treasurer's office that they make a designated appointment to all 5 of the pension boards. And if you're familiar with those pension boards, they represent about 3 million active and retired members in the state of Ohio. We're talking about teachers, police officers, firefighters, corrections officers. We're talking about highway workers. In most municipal governments, we're talking about the people that pick up our trash once a week. They're hardworking Ohioans who are just want to do what's best for their families to get ahead. And from time and time again, what we have seen with these pension boards is they're losing money. They're cutting benefits to hardworking Ohioans. In fact, folks in those pension funds, they're working longer, they're working harder, they're paying more, and they're getting less when they retire. I believe that if you have worked with dignity, you should retire with dignity so you can live with dignity in the state of Ohio. So my appointments will make sure that we have an open door policy to all of those active and retired members of those 5 pension boards. And in fact, when it comes to transparency, I'm actually considering appointing myself as the state treasurer to one of those pension boards just to keep track of what they're doing and how they're losing money and why they're losing money. We need to do better collectively with the pension boards as well as all the state investments that we have. Over $230 billion the treasurer is responsible for in state investments. And we need to do better with more transparency. Thank you.
Thank you. A question for Mr. Crossman. What is your stand on the Attorney General prosecuting people seeking an abortion?
Well, as I said, I'm a pro-choice candidate, right? And I already rolled out, and you can find my comments on this issue on my website at crossmanforohio.com. I laid out a plan. Actually, it happened to be the same day I learned Dave Joseph was on national TV lying about a 10-year-old rape victim. All right, I laid out my plan on what I plan on doing to support not just abortion care, but reproductive freedom in the state. I laid out my plan to support our LGBTQ community, whereas my opponent is out there actually attacking them. You know, suing the federal government to take away school lunch programs and the right to discriminate against LGBTQ youth. I laid out my plan that talks about we're going to honor local prosecutors' decisions. When they decide not to prosecute, we're going to reject the state government from imposing jurisdiction on the AG's office to prosecute women for abortion care. I'm going to defend people's right to travel out of state if they need to travel out of state, because that's the next line of attack. I'm going to support providing correct information with the Attorney General's office is supposed to be providing correct information. I'm going to support using the Victims Fund for women that have to leave the state to receive the care they need if they are rape victims, something the Attorney General's office refuses to do now. So there's plenty at the AG's office. And by the way, as I said earlier, I'm going to support getting this issue on the ballot so we can settle this once and for all. So thank you.
And the final question for Mr. Crossman, what would you do to increase trust in law enforcement and improve police-community relations?
I think that's a great question, and I've heard that question a lot. And quite frankly, what I've been tired of, and when I ran for re-election to the State House, I ran in a community that was very pro-law enforcement. Our community is very safe, and people love it that way. And but I really detested our president at the time driving further wedges between communities based on racial lines, pitting the police versus groups like Black Lives Matter. Because all Black Lives Matter means is that they want to be treated just the same as anybody else. Black Lives Matter should matter just as much as to anybody. So that's what that means to me. So what we need is leaders that are willing to create bridges between groups, not wedges. And that's what I hope to be as the Attorney General, is someone that provides bridges, builds bridges between communities. And actually, if you talk to law enforcement, they just want to do the good job. And if you talk to communities that are, being policed in a way they don't like, they want safe communities too. When they call the police, they want the police to show up. So how do we bridge these things together? And that all community leaders have to be at the table. And I think the Attorney General can be a leader in helping make that happen. But you have to do it with good faith and good heart and open mind, and listen to all sides on the situation and listen to all sides on the issue so that we can get to a point where everybody has their say and we can get to a place where the policies and procedures that lead to, for example, police shootings and violence in the communities actually are resolved. And quite frankly, we need a legislature that's willing to stand up to the gun lobby. A lot of the violence in our communities is driven by what happens, policy decisions that are happening in the legislature, and they don't want to take an honest look at what they're doing, what the impact is on the communities. They just want to blame things on petty partisan politics. So we have a long way to go, folks, on solving these issues, and you just need the right leadership in place. Thank you.
Thank you. Final question for Mr. Schertzer. What is the most pressing problem facing the office of the treasurer, and how would you address it?
Unfortunately, I think I laid it out in my last response. So I do believe that the pension concerns are one of the most pressing issues. But in addition to that, I know that the State Teachers Retirement System has recently asked for different groups represented by state teachers have asked the state auditor to do a full-blown audit of the pension fund. And I would welcome those audits by a credible state auditor to make sure that they are doing what they're supposed to do. I would also welcome those same audits within the Treasurer's office itself, because that's part of the credibility and transparency that we need at the state level. They're covering for one another left and right down in Columbus and Capital City. I don't want to keep blaming Columbus. Columbus is a separate entity, so. But also, I would call for a inspector general within the Treasurer's office to continue the accountability and transparency. So that is the biggest issue that I see. There's been a lot of talk about local government funding, and that is certainly a big issue. We have in the Treasurer's office currently a program that's pretty good that allows local governments to participate in. But I would go one step further, and I would ask that any local government that participates in the Ohio checkbook because not many of them are, that we begin to restore their local government funding if they participate in the Ohio checkbook. So those are just some things that I would do as your state treasurer. And I ask you for your vote on November 8th. And if you're an early voter, I ask you for your early vote. Thank you.
The final question for Mr. Eliopoulos. How do you feel about the fact that all of our state districts have been drawn illegally and with disregard for the voters of Ohio? How can this matter be fairly remedied?
Right, well, honestly, the most effective way is to elect the 3 Supreme Court justices that we have on the ballot, Judge Zayas, Jamison, and Justice Brunner, because they're going to have, at the end of the day, in 2 years when they make new maps, they're going to have the power to strike them down, but not just strike them down, hold the people who are breaking the law accountable and hold them in contempt. Yeah, because at the end of the day, if you can just break the law and the Supreme Court just lets you break it and there's no actual accountability, if I was a Republican, I would do the same exact thing again. They can draw these districts the way they want to. That's the way the law was written. And unless we have people in the Supreme Court that are willing to hold politicians accountable, it's just going to continue to happen. That's just the stark reality of it. And then, of course, once we get more legislators in there who want to look at independent commissions, citizens boards, things that actually make sense that other states have done to create fair districts, that's something I'm totally supportive of. And to me, it's all about the competitiveness. I think the compactness isn't as much of a factor. You take a look at competitive advantage. When you have hyper-partisan districts, that brings us farther and farther to each side because you're really races in the primary. You're not concerned with the general. So you don't have to get out, talk to voters during the general election. You're only concerned about winning your primary and you're letting the party's vote. That's not the way it should be. It should be competitive. This district right now is competitive, and I'm forced to go to Norwalk. I'm forced to go to rural parts of the county because that's what you should do as a state senator. That's exactly what I will do as a senator. So I look forward to your vote on November 8th, and if you early vote as well, I look forward to your vote then. Thank you guys so much.
The final question for Mr. Swartz.
You want to ask me a question, sir?
One question.
Well, we can both take it.
All right. This question, final question for both of you.
I appreciate you.
Sure. What revenue sources would you consider raising, or what programs would you consider cutting in order to meet our obligations?
Well, a carbon tax is way overdue. This has been talked about for a number of years. Major lending institutions have already embraced this idea several years ago. They're getting ready for it. But we need to have that carbon tax. The cap and trade program that Obama put in place during his administration was an abject failure. It was too complicated and they could never even enforce it. So a carbon tax is probably the best way to raise revenue on the oil and gas industry and take that revenue and start plowing it back into our infrastructure, back into our energy platforms so that we can make the transition. In terms of programs, cutting, I'm looking right at the fence. First and foremost, when Donald Trump ran in 2015 and 16, he was actually striking a common chord amongst a lot of people that felt the same way, that there was too much fraud, waste, and abuse, and we were in unending wars. I was even saying, hey, that's exactly right, because I felt that way for many years, especially during my travels, and seeing firsthand what American policies were doing in Asia. We cause so many different things going on around the world, and I'll leave it with this, is that we end up defending against what we create. So one of the first things I'm going to be looking at is the Defense Department and getting rid of the fraud, waste, and abuse and start bringing some sensibility to how we conduct our foreign policy. Thank you.
In addition to global peace, one of the primary things, one of the primary reasons why I'm running is to increase the wealth and prosperity of all Americans. And I believe with a swipe of a pen,
We can do that. We can end Trump's tariffs. Do you deserve to pay a 20% premium on products from China? I ask that seriously. Joe Biden recently cut the lumber tariff in half from 16% to 8%. I beg to ask the question, do you deserve to pay an 8% premium on this crucial building material? Do you deserve to pay 30% on cantaloupes when they're not in season? Do you deserve to pay 6% on corn? Do you deserve to pay 10% on tomatoes? I'm an Italian American. I eat pasta and pasta sauce every day. That's ridiculous. I'm telling you, with the stripe of one pen, and we can do this with popular consensus, you have to demand it from your leaders, demand it from your representatives. Nobody's talking about free trade. Nobody's talking about it. And we can raise your quality of life and lower your cost of living with a stroke of a pen. People need to be aware of it. You need to make your representative aware of it. You need to push them to make this crucial change. Trump did it. We can take it away. Thank you.
And the final question from Ms. Fedor. What will be your priorities as a member of the State Board of Education?
Thank you for that question. I will continue my work as a former public school teacher, legislator for 22 years, working on the education committee, facing the report card. First of all, we need to hire a superintendent that's going to support public education. We're going to support teachers in the classroom, give them the tools they need to teach. Give our children the tools and the modernization that they need to be successful. And help parents understand that we're not going to go into extreme politics to deflect off of their constitutional obligation in the legislature to fund public education constitutionally. I think that's so truly important. And we also need to take care of the teacher shortage. Many teachers have left, especially after they went through COVID. And it's time that we really start amping up the colleges of education in the state of Ohio to recruit teachers, inspire them, and not teach to the test. The report card should not, yes, the report card should be more about what's working successfully in every community in Ohio. Testing doesn't give us the view of success or the rain across the board in the state of Ohio, so we will focus on what really matters. And that's a proper education for our children for their future. That's local control for the school boards to decide how they're going to spend their money, not the state of Ohio dictating to them what they can and cannot do. And stop privatization of the charter schools for abject failure. The voucher system will absolutely crush, if that bill goes through the State House, a voucher for every student will crush democracy. It will crush democracy. They will have school buildings up on every corner like we have drugstores. And they're going to just want that public dollar, and there is no accountability whatsoever. Transparency, oversight, and accountability. And they are not successful in the two privatized systems we have now, but we can't get to it because they don't want us to see what happened to ECOT, the electronic classroom of tomorrow, have the political influence, and it will crush every community across the state of Ohio. So those are my priorities plus more. Thank you.
Thank you all. Next are candidates for Lorain County offices of Auditor and Commissioner. Please be seated on stage, and we will begin with candidates for Auditor. All right, so we have for the office of Auditor, we have Roeser and Craig Snodgrass via the miracle of technology. Mr. Roeser and then Mr. Snodgrass, please proceed with their opening statements.
Hey, Oberlin, it's great to see you. My name's Rodger. I'm the 2022 Republican candidate for County Auditor, and just a little bit about me. I'm a graduate of Kent State University. Don't hold that against me. My degree is in journalism. I'm a husband. I'm a cat dad. I'm a small business executive, and a concerned citizen. I've never run for office. I've never held office. Never wanted to hold office. Never even occurred to me, but I found myself pitching at the television a lot. So I thought, hey, I think we could do a little bit better. I think our county deserves a little bit better. So I wanted to get involved instead of just standing in the sidelines. Because you don't realize when you look around and people that put themselves out here to run for office, hey, this is not an easy thing. You face a lot of criticism. You try to put some ideas out there that some folks, for one reason or another, aren't going to agree with. And that's okay. Because that is what democracy is about. And it's great to see all of you and all the people that actually care enough to spend their time listening to us talk. And I think that's wonderful that you guys care enough to take the time to listen to me, to listen to Craig, and everybody else that's sharing what they believe are their ideas. Because I do believe that they believe their ideas are what's best. And I think that's good. That's positive. And that makes us all a better county, a better community, and a better country. If my name rings a bell for you older folks, yes, I began my career right here in Oberlin after I got my journalism degree from Kent State. I was your reporter. I was the reporter of the Oberlin News Tribune when that existed. I also got the opportunity to write for the Wellington Enterprise and also the Amherst News Times. So I've covered the commissioners, I've covered the council, and that began my love for politics and getting involved. So it's great to be here. It's great to see all of you, and I appreciate it very
much.
Thank you. Good evening. First of all, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the OCCN in organizing this evening's event. Although I wish I was able to participate in person, I'm currently dealing with COVID, but welcome the opportunity to join via Zoom. Again, my name is Craig Snodgrass, your Lorain County Auditor, a position I've held for the last 10 years. Overall, I've been with the office for more than 28 years. I am a lifelong Lorain Countyan, and reside on the west side of Lorain with my wife for 27 years, Wendy, and I have three beautiful daughters. Madison was a first-year med student, Morgan's a junior at Kent State, and Emma's a sophomore at Amherst High School. I'm strongly committed to giving back to my community and to my profession. I'm currently a member of numerous community groups. I've been a volunteer treasurer for Lorain County Metro Parks Levy Committee for more than 20 years. I also serve on members of Lorain Sports Hall of Fame Committee, and I served as past president. I also currently serve as first vice president of the Ohio County Auditors Association, and will be inducted as president in November. I also serve on Lorain City Council for 7 years, representing the 8th Ward. I've been endorsed by the AFL-CIO, UAW CAB Council, and Lorain Fraternal Order of Police for my re-election as auditor. Thank you.
Question for both candidates from the Oberlin Community Candidates Night Committee. What elements or what in your life experience and professional skills best qualifies you to serve as an auditor?
I think I mentioned that my degree is in journalism. I had the opportunity at a very young age to cover city council right here in Oberlin, along with Wellington and Amherst and others. I wrote for the Lorain Morning Journal as well, and had an opportunity to cover for the commissioners and so forth. So I learned a lot about the inner workings of how things were actually working when I had an opportunity to write for the papers. But more importantly than that, I think Craig will appreciate this, I'm a professional musician. I've been playing since I was a little kid. I am spectacular at counting to 4, so I think that's a critical thing when it comes to auditing. But in reality, my business is in the auditing business. It's what I do for a living. It's what I've done for the past 20-some years, and professionally working with businesses of all shapes and sizes, from Fortune 500 companies to small mom and pops, organizations, etc., to help them find opportunities, to help them spot waste, to help them spot errors, to help them find ways that they can be operating their businesses, their organizations more efficiently, to spend less money, to make more money, to find employees that are going to be a better fit for your company, to find operational waste and operational errors, marketing errors. So what I do for a living and have done for the past 20 years, I was the 2014 Lead Magazine CEO of the Year. I was a 2012 Inc. 5000 company, so I know how to run a successful business, and I like to bring some of that business acumen and business efficiency and thinking to county government.
Yes, thank you. As I mentioned, I've been auditor for the last 10 years. Previously, I was an employee within the office for 18 years, doing all different types of jobs within the office. Prior to that, I worked in public accounting. I have a bachelor's degree in accounting and business from Walsh University in Canton. I trained my whole life to do what I do. I think it's also very important that a lot of the other, being on city council in the city of Lorraine, you learn to work with other governments. You learn to work with school boards, which I very closely have to work with. You work with other bodies that are important to do our job. And I'm very proud of the job I've accomplished. We've had clean audits over the years since I've been on it. We've been recognized with my mapping system, and we've done a lot of good things. Again, being a certified public accountant, a certified government financial manager, really has given me that background, educational background, and my extracurricular activity has allowed me to continue to serve the citizens of Lorraine County. I love what I do, and I ask for that continued support. Thank you.
A first question from the audience. How do you propose, and this is for both Mr. Roeser and for Mr. Snodgrass, how do you propose to handle the county oversight of public and private finances, and which sectors will be prioritized? We can start. Actually, Mr. Snodgrass, you can start.
Can you repeat that question again, please?
How do you propose to handle the county oversight of public and private finances, and which sectors will be prioritized?
Again, we're always looking at the public being, those are tax dollars that we have to audit, we have to keep track of, and we question everything as far as I do in my office. There are certainly some crossover between the two, and we have to keep those things segregated like anything. And again, like I said, the audit process we're very stringent on. And we just don't pay bills without seeing documentation. That is something that obviously in anything that you do, we do not we trust but we verify. And that would be the approach between both sides.
Yeah, what my organization does for a living and what I do for a career is actually look through whether it's a financial thing, an operations system, what's working well and what isn't. So whether it's private funds that are coming in, public funds that are coming in, we'll make sure the auditor's department is scrutinizing them, as close as humanly possible. As far as prioritizing, the things that are of value to me are what's going to make Lorraine County work in the most efficient manner possible. So we want to make sure that we're supporting and prioritizing things that are going to continue with getting folks back to work, increasing employment opportunities, increasing education opportunities, especially with some of the technology that we have coming into the county. You look at our JDS system here, which is absolutely spectacular, making sure that we're providing them the support that they need. But I think more importantly, one of the issues that I really am a champion for is working with a lot of the different humane societies, the dog kennels, etc., to make sure that those are at least made aware of through funding from things like dog tags or other programs, because there's a lot of our pet, friends that have not been taken care of as well as they should be throughout Lorraine County. I think we can do a better job. So that would be a quote-unquote pet project.
And the final question, how will you bring greater transparency to and public understanding of the workings of your office? And Mr. Roeser?
That is a great question. Again, as I mentioned, one of the core focuses of my organization, my company, is to create that communications transparency. As a former recovering journalist, I've had an opportunity to make sure that those stories are told for countless businesses and organizations, not just in our community, but across the country. So you're going to see significantly upgraded technology. You're going to see significantly upgraded communications from the auditor's department, whether that's on social media, in-person events, not just in election years. And that's going to be done in a situation where it's going to be direct to the folks that want it. We're going to find ways to reduce costs and getting it out to you guys so it's more clearly understood. And in nuggets that is going to be more easily digestible to folks of all ages and all technology levels.
Thank you. Yes, we're very proud of our website. We have so much information out there that actually it's at times too much information. It can be overwhelming. And other counties have looked to ours as their prototype. And again, we have thousands and thousands of hits every day using our system, as well as we also have our strong Facebook presence. I have annual press conferences with the media explaining what's going on with values and taxes. So there's a constant communication with the public. We are constantly sending out notices, letters. We are out there with our appraisers talking to people. We have a great public outreach program that we continue to grow, and we've been doing that for years, and we are there for the public. I do not sit behind the desk, and I go out and talk and meet with people. That is something that we need to do in government. I've embraced that, and will continue to do so. So there is information that we provide, and I will continue to do so. I see the yellow part, so I will wrap that up. But yes, we are always looking for ways to better inform the public, and we are doing so. Thank you.
Thank you. Now let's turn to candidates for the Lorain County Commissioner, Matt Lundy and Jeffrey Riddell. Right, here we go. First question, my apologies. First question from the committee. What do you see? So excited about you.
Agreed on that.
So please, your 90-second introduction.
Good evening, everyone. I'm just excited to be in a Oberlin College lecture hall and not have to pay tuition. So it's pretty exciting. Just wanted to tell you a little bit about my roots. I'm a proud graduate of Avon Lake High School. From Avon Lake High School, went on to graduate from Lorain County Community College. I hope folks in the county will support the college levy as well. And worked my way through college at LCC and also at Friends University in Wichita, Kansas. Anybody know Friends University in Wichita, Kansas? That's where I earned my Bachelor of Science in Human Resource Management. My professional background includes over 20 years working as a reporter and also as an investigative reporter. My public service includes serving on Avon Lake City Council. Prior to becoming a state representative in Columbus, there was a little bit of a gap in there before I started serving in Columbus. But as a state representative, I'm proud of my record, pushing for a 2-year college tuition freeze, pushing for textbook affordability and equal pay for women. And as a commissioner, I continue to focus on protecting our jobs and attracting new jobs, funding our sheriff's department, and making sure our veterans and our seniors are treated with dignity and respect. I do listen to you. That's why you hear the phrase, Lundy listens. And I'm asking for your support on November 8th. Boy, that's a quick clock. Okay.
Good evening, I'm Jeff Riddell. I don't go by Jeffrey very much. That was the term that my mother used when I was in the doghouse. But I'd just like to ask you if you'd like to know some of the things about me to check the website, vote for Riddell. Other than that, what I tend to do with my 90 seconds is tell you the why instead of the what I am. And I stand humbly in front of you because I believe that I know I can do the job as it's currently structured and as it could be. I spent 40 years in the construction industry, starting in the front line, working through middle management in various phases, ending up in senior management and at the proverbial desk where the buck stops. It's a complex industry, and I know that I can handle the complexities of Lorain County government. As I said, I've worked over my life in the construction industry. We build things. Once in a while, we tear them down, only to build something better and more efficient. If there's anything that we do, it's we persevere. We don't quit until the job is done. If it's rain is forecast on Thursday, we work late on Wednesday, and we come in early on Friday to help make up for it. We go by the motto, don't tell me the 10 reasons you can't do something, tell me the one reason you can. My public service, I spent 12 years in the Civil Service Commission in Avon Lake. I spent 12 years, but not the same years, in the Board of Trustees of Lorain County Community College. I also spent 20 years as a director of Lorain National Bank, now Northwest Bank. While it's a private enterprise, it was a publicly traded stock, and they had to follow the public laws. So I ask that you consider my resume and my opportunity to bring new ideas and do better than the status quo. Thank you.
Now, the first question from the committee for both candidates. What do you see as the commissioner's most important function and why?
I think the most important role of the county commissioner is to be a facilitator and to make sure that you bring people together and find a common goal, find a common cause, and work together to get there. I know that I have always stressed public safety is very important in this role as a county commissioner, making sure that the sheriff has the funding he needs and the deputies have the training they need to get the job done. I think that I work very well with the mayors and the trustees so that we can actually protect the jobs that we have here in the county and also bring new jobs to the area. Working together also involves trying to identify how to help our families who are struggling and businesses that are struggling. You've probably read a lot of stories recently about how we provided additional funding to help organizations that are helping families trying to keep a roof over their head and food on the table, and also help small businesses as they still continue to get through the current pandemic that we have. It's just so important that we need unity. We can't have the division that is now going on. We obviously get a lot more accomplished when we work together. I'm a big believer in that. We are stronger when we work together.
You doing that? I know, I got it, yeah.
I want to start by saying how refreshing it is to return to academia and hear the term home rule. Because home rule is like an onion. It has many layers. And as we talk about the state and the county and the truly local, the villages, the cities, and the townships, they all have different responsibilities and different goals in mind. As a county commissioner, I think the goal is to provide the services that are important to the breadth of Lorain County. Not just worry about something for the cities and something for the village and something for the rural, but to look at the things that allow the whole county to rise together. The job of the councils and the mayors and the township trustees is to see to it that their township, their village, their city shares in that growth and economic well-being. And I believe in the American dream, and the American dream includes a job. So therefore, I think the largest thing to do is to make sure that the county's budget is used to raise all shifts, provide economic health which will allow people to provide their own wealth and success in their communities and their family. And as someone who is proud to say all four of my children, our children, live in northeastern Ohio, my dream would be that every child growing up, every grandchild growing up in Lorain County has the ability to choose whether to stay here or go somewhere else, not be driven to go somewhere else because of lack of opportunity here in Lorain County.
The first question from the audience for both candidates. What specifically can the county commissioners do to help all of Lorain County transition to clean energy? Mr. Riddell, would you like to? Either one. Up to you guys.
It's a little bit of an offbeat question, I think, for a county commissioner candidate. Obviously, our main role would be to facilitate and support the decisions that are made at the levels where they need to be made. The county government really doesn't provide utility infrastructure as much as it provides, roads and drainage and sewers, and see to it that utilities are extended to certain areas. But I don't know that the county commissioner, as I see it, has a true voice except to support those ideas that come out of the people who actually have the authority to deliver that subject.
As it relates to clean energy, the county commissioners are members of the NOACA Board, Northeast Ohio Area-wide Coordinating Agency, the Metropolitan Planning Organization. We've been very involved with, and I know I served as president last year when we became very aggressive in making sure that we were going to have charging stations throughout the NOACA region. That's very, very important. I know the county commissioners in our role, we played a critical role. We were on the front end of offshore wind being utilized in this state. And I also know that, we've been playing a major role in trying to make sure that the old power plant in Avon Lake that used to burn a lot of coal is now coming offline, making sure that we can abate that property as well too, so that it's cleaned up for a better use in the future. So those are some areas where we have been directly involved with those kinds of initiatives. Thank you.
A question for Mr. Lundy. What are the biggest budget challenges facing Lorain County, and what steps can be taken to meet them?
The primary part of the budget is basically providing funding for our safety forces and also for our court system. That takes up a very large portion of our budget. When you go through a budget process, you have to determine what your priorities are, and certainly ours is making sure that we have safety in the community and making sure that our judicial system is operating well. What we've tried to do is to make sure that, as we work through the budget process, and we're in a fortunate position now because of these Rescue Act dollars, that we can actually help with some things that we weren't able to help with in the past. This county has been deeply impacted by an epidemic during the pandemic, and trying to make sure that we can get the dollars invested into the right projects so that we can help people get on the right path so that they can keep their families together. They can move away from addiction. They can become productive citizens of Lorain County again and support their families.
Audience question for you, Mr. Riddell. These are the final questions for these candidates. When Republicans more and hung,
Do I get the same question that he got?
no, there's a question specifically for you from the audience.
Gotcha.
When Republicans more and hung ran for office, they promised transparency and integrity. We have received neither. A big part of the commissioner's job is to award contracts. How do we know you will not have conflicts of interest given that you own a large company?
First of all, I would correct and say it's not a large company. We have 48 employees and we feel very much like a small company. But awarding of contracts is something that I've dealt with both in my time at Lorraine National Bank and my time at Lorraine County Community College. Conflict of interest there are always going to be conflicts. For instance, if the bank wanted to do business with the college and I sat on the board of both, I needed to disclose that I sat on the board of both. And if there was a decision that was involving a competitive situation, I had to recuse myself from being involved in those conversations in both. But there's always going to be conflict of interest because people that do things. And those things that they do sometimes conflict with other things they do. I think you avoid conflict of interest by remembering as a county commissioner that I wear the hat of the county commissioner, not the hat of a concrete salesman or the hat of a person from Henrietta Township, but as a person of Lorraine County, and make the decisions that I think will have the most impact to the most people. Thank you.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. We invite the final group of candidates. Candidates for positions in the Lorraine County Judicial System, and we have before us Kobasher, Erica Voorhees, Amber Crowe, Thomas A. Teodosio, and Sherry Glass Strohsack. You each have 90 seconds for your opening statements. Let's start with Ms. Kobasher.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for staying this long. I know it's been a long evening for all of you. My name is Melissa Kobasher, and I am running for the General Division of the Lorraine County Court of Common Pleas. What you should know about me is that I am unique and qualified for the position that I am running for. There are three things that you should know. The first is that my family. I am a wife and a mother of 2 small children. I grew up in Lorraine County just outside of Oberlin in Pittsfield Township. The second thing is that I am actively engaged in our community. I sit on the board of the Lorraine County Urban League, the executive committee of the Lorraine County Bar Association. I am active in the Lions Club as a community service member, and I also sit on the Legal Grievance and Ethics Committee that oversees the attorneys in our county to make sure that they are serving in their duties as an attorney. And finally, what you should know is about my experience. I had unique experience in that I already sit as a magistrate in the court that I am running for. The Lorraine County Common Pleas Court General Division handles your felony criminal cases and your complex civil litigation. I am one female running to take this position. There are currently 6 judges in that court who are all male, and I am running to be the sole female in that division. It is important to me and our community that we have diverse representation and different perspectives in the court, and so that is the reason I will be asking for your vote on November 8th.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Erica Voorhees. I am one of your 3 candidates for the 9th District Court of Appeals judgeships. The 9th District Court of Appeals, I should say, covers Summit County, Lorraine County, Wayne County, and Medina County. So we are a larger district than the other judicial seats that you're seeing. But a little bit about me, I have been an attorney for 17 years. I was born and raised in Summit County. I went off to college at Denison University, very similar field to Oberlin here, and graduated in 2002. When I left, I came back home to the University of Akron School of Law, got my law degree, and started in 2005 as a public defender. I worked as a public defender for 11 years, and then went on to the Akron Municipal Court as a magistrate and judicial attorney for Judge Catherine Michael. My last years of practice with the Summit County Legal Defender's Office were in regard to defending juvenile survivors of human trafficking. I have been with Judge Kathleen Michael for 6 years, serving as her judicial attorney and magistrate. And at the Summit County Court of Common Pleas General Division where I sit, I do mostly civil work, but I do criminal arraignments and write opinions, which often are reviewed by appellate courts. So I am uniquely qualified to serve on an appellate bench and would ask for your vote as well on November 8th or earlier.
There's a podium here because I oftentimes become like a game show host. So if you guys I tell you to come on down, just stay seated. I'm Magistrate Amber Crowe, and I am also running for one of the 3 seats on the Ohio 9th District Court of Appeals. Let me tell you a little bit about myself, and I'm going to tell you why I'm running. I've been a prosecutor, a defense attorney. As a prosecutor, I was a child protection prosecutor, seeing some of the most heinous cases in Summit County and litigating those cases on behalf of Summit County Children's Services. A defense attorney, I did criminal defense, family defense. I've been a guardian ad litem, a mediator. I've been a magistrate in municipal court. I'm a current magistrate at the Summit County Juvenile Court, and I've even filled in as bailiff during COVID because there is no job that is beneath us. We are public servants, magistrates, judges, jurists. I am running because I want to make sure that everybody understands what the 9th District Court of Appeals does, how important the decisions that are made in courts are to impacting our everyday lives. That is one of the reasons I am here tonight, is to make sure that I can answer the questions you guys have in order to be transparent about why I'm seeking office and what the court does. So at the end of all of this, what I want you to remember in November is let's go vote Crowe. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you to the committee for this opportunity to address you today. I am Judge Tom Teodosio, and I currently serve on the 9th District Court of Appeals. I'm actually the presiding judge of the 9th District Court of Appeals. Over the first term of, since 2016, I should say, when I was elected, I've sat on panels that have decided over 1,000 appellate decisions. I've written over 500 decisions. Also, I've had the great opportunity to serve on the Ohio Supreme Court. That occurs when one of the justices is unable to serve due to a conflict, and the Chief Justice selects somebody from the Court of Appeals to actually sit on cases. I've had that opportunity, and the Chief found it that I did a good enough job that she also appointed me to sit in the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 11th District Court of Appeals when conflicts occurred in those areas. I have been judged by my colleagues, judges and attorneys, and done very well. Summit County recently had the Akron Bar Association ratings. I received the highest rating of excellent in that rating system. Also, the Lorain County Bar Association did a membership poll, and the judges and attorneys rated me highly recommended, which was also the highest rating that you could receive. If you want to see all of my endorsements, visit my website, judgetomteodosio.com, or it's on the back of my handout outside. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. As you see, my name is Sherry Glass S. Okay, it's Sherry Glass Strohsack. Very difficult last name, blamed on my husband, Strohsack. I am more familiar, or people are more familiar with me as Judge Sherry Glass. I am a current judge here in Lorain County. I'm a judge in the Common Pleas Court, as one of the participants have mentioned, Common Pleas, but there are different divisions. I am in the Domestic Relations Division. Seems to be a mystery to many, so hopefully I will get to tell you a little bit about it today. I have now been a judge. I'm finishing up my 6th year. And I will be starting again in January for another term, so another 6 years. So yay, guess what everyone, I don't have an opponent, okay? I'm so excited to be here. The stress does, it's a little less, because I'm here to talk to you. As Magistrate Crowe said, as a public servant. I had at least 3 attorneys today when they mentioned I was coming to this say, why are you going? You don't have opposition. Because I am the elected official. I want to know my community. I want you to know me. I want you to know my credentials. My credentials, I'm sure, are online as well. I've been a judge for 6 years. Prior to that, I was a prosecutor for 18 years, doing everything from starting in child support, working my way up, all the way up to being a supervisor in the adult criminal felony division. After doing that for quite some time, 5 to 6 years, I felt that it was necessary to make some further changes, and that's when I ran for judge, and that's what I'm doing now. Thank you.
And now the first question from the committee to all candidates. What, in your life experience and professional skills, best qualifies you to serve as a judge?
So let me start with, I'm running for the same division in which I currently work. I have served as a prosecutor here in Oberlin, in the Oberlin Municipal Court. I was a criminal defense attorney, and I stood next to individuals and families in all walks of life as their attorney prior to becoming a magistrate. I became a magistrate 6 years ago, and when I got the job, even my husband was like, what is that? So let me tell you what a magistrate is. We are judicial officers just like the judge. There are very few things that we cannot do. So what I currently do in the court is the same type of job that I'm running for. I handle and manage the most efficient civil docket in the court. What that means is we have the least amount of cases that are pending beyond the Supreme Court guidelines. That's what the guidelines set for how fast we should get cases done. And we have the least amount of cases overall in the general division. I'm very proud that over the past 5 years or more that I was able to create a very efficient docket. The court in which I'm going to, unfortunately, has 45 cases that are pending over time in the civil side and 45 cases pending over time on the criminal side. So it needs someone who is already familiar with the job, who does not have on-the-job training. And that's what makes me unique, that I've already served as a magistrate and judicial officer in the same court. And that's why I'm asking for your vote on November 8th.
I have a job very similar to Magistrate Kobasher's. I am staff attorney and magistrate at the Summit County Court of Common Pleas, so I do much of what she said. Again, that involves writing opinions for my judge, which are often reviewed by appellate courts. That's one of the ways that I am uniquely qualified. In my practice, I've also argued before appellate courts, written appellate briefs, and practiced in just about all areas of the law, including misdemeanors, felonies, child support defense, juvenile cases, the whole gamut. As Magistrate Crowe indicated, I've been in just about every chair in that courtroom because, as she also indicated, there's no job that the court needs done that I won't do, because that's just the need, and that need belongs to the court, it belongs to the people, not to me, and not to my judgment that I wouldn't be able to do it. That's me on a basic level as far as professional. I don't think it should be overlooked that I'm also a mom and a wife. That means managing work-life balance, means managing lots of expectations and things outside of traditional courthouse expectations, things of getting done. So I am used to the balance and the juggle and getting to work and getting those things done when it needs to be done. That's what makes me qualified as well. I would also note that I am a first-generation college graduate. I am a product of my parents' hard work and care for me and wanting better for that generation, and a graduate of law school besides being a first-generation graduate from college, and know what the value of hard work is.
Folks, I believe that I am a uniquely qualified candidate for the position for which I'm running, because like I said in my intro, I've prosecuted, I've defended, I've mediated, I've ruled as a magistrate. And what does the Ohio 9th District Court of Appeals do? In a very simplistic terms, they make sure that the law is properly applied and you got a fair trial, right? So we're looking at cases that come up from Summit, Lorraine, Wayne, and Medina counties to make sure that the trial court decision that you received was fair and that the law was followed. Who better to do that than somebody who has analyzed and tried cases from the prosecutorial standpoint, the defense standpoint, has been a guardian ad litem, mediated cases from child support to visitation to custody, everything that you could think of. As a magistrate in juvenile court, my position is a little bit different from my colleagues here, because I try cases from the most serious levels of felonies down to civil protection orders to traffic and delinquency cases. So I'm reviewing evidence, I am taking testimony, I'm handling motion hearings. I do, for all intents and purposes, what a judge does. I get the stamp of approval from Judge Linda Teodosio, you might recognize that name, in my court, but rest assured that the experience I would bring to the table would serve the cases well in the Ohio 9th District Court of Appeals, because you need that eye, you need that perspective. If you have something that's one-sided, you're not going to get as good of a turnout as if you've got that experience from across all sides of the spectrum. So thank you so much.
Thank you for that question. The Court of Appeals really is an important court. I call it the Supreme Court for the working man. That's because most cases don't reach the Ohio Supreme Court. It stops at the Court of Appeals. I want to talk about my experience that I bring to the court, that not only the last 6 years where I've decided over those thousands of cases, but I want to start back at the beginning of my career. For 25 years, I was in private practice, serving as a trial attorney for folks like you. I had trials in federal court, in state court, in probate court, domestic relations court, broad general practice. That's not very common for a judge. During that 25 years, I also had 6 years legislative experience where I served on Summit County Council. Now, during that time, Summit County was the only charter form of government in the state, meaning we had home rule powers and could create legislation that applied within the county. I ran for judge in the Summit County Common Pleas Court, and I served as a trial judge for 10 years, hearing everything from medical malpractice cases to death penalty cases, personal injury cases to business and contract actions. Also, during that 10-year period of time, in addition to having a regular docket, I presided over the Summit County Felony Drug Court during the height of the opiate epidemic, the most rewarding job I've ever had. Then I ran for the Court of Appeals and won in 2016. In addition to the ratings that I told you about, the excellent and highly recommended, I've been the recipient of the St. Thomas More Award for Professional Excellence. You can see all about me on judgeteodosio.com or pick up one of those flyers. Thank you.
Okay, so the question that was posed to us, it's really a compound question, two separate areas. One is about life experiences, and the other is about professional skills. So I'm going to talk about both separately. Life experiences, we've all been through them, and they've all affected us in one way or another. I would have to say to you that my life experiences, the struggles that I've gone through, I believe have caused me to be, part of that is why I am the judge I am. And I'll say I believe that's a damn good one. Okay? Why? Because I care. I care about the people who come in front of me. I care about the children who come in front of me. I care about the fact that they just want to be heard. They want to have a voice. They want to feel that someone is listening and someone does care. And I do care. And I believe my life experiences have caused me to be able to do that, to empathize with some of the individuals who have come in front of me. It's the struggles I've gone through. We've all gone through struggles. In my life, it was the struggles of coming from very humble beginnings. the struggles I watched my mom go through, the struggles I went through myself, being a single young mother, I have 3 children now, but at that time, single young mother to 1 child. I had him out at Ohio University with me, and go Bobcats. I stayed there, I got my determination from my life experiences, and I believe that those struggles have really caused me to be the judge that I am today, because I care about the people who come in front of me. Thank you.
Question. What is the most critical area of concern for judges in the Lorain County judicial system, and how do you propose to address those concerns?
Ooh, that's a big question. I'm going to focus my answer because I'm in the domestic. I'm going to focus it on something that's relevant to me. The justice system is huge. I am in the domestic relations court. That also, many people don't know this, but it encompasses juvenile court. So can you imagine all the concerns and issues with regard to our juveniles? Right now, a huge issue is violence, juvenile violence, specifically gun violence. And myself and the 2 other judges who are in our division, we have taken steps. We have taken drastic steps to try to address these issues. None of us have a magic wand here, and we're going to be able to make these issues disappear. But we know we have to stop being reactive. And we have made tremendous progress in being proactive. We recently, right before COVID, put together the Lorain County Assessment and Resource Center. It is phenomenal. If you don't know about it, you should. Please learn about it. The Resource Center, there's one thing we've done to really attack juvenile violence in really working with families and children. We have a counselor on site at that assessment center. This is something Lorain County never had before. We have it now. It's healthy, it's proactive, and we're trying to get to the root of the problem and not just locking kids up after we find them with a gun or they're pulled over in a car with the gun under their seat or something worse, and we all know what I'm referring to. So we have taken lots of steps towards this, and it's not stopping. We are going to continue this fight. We're going to continue working on this problem. Thank you.
Well, that's sort of a difficult question for an appellate judge. I think the judges in your county are doing an excellent job. Their work is good. I think the one complaint that I would have is sometimes the transmission of the record to the Court of Appeals is delayed. I think we're working through a new system where that's going to be even speedier and more efficient. And it's our whole work is based on the record down below. All right, so it's very important that we get that. Other than that, I really don't see any issues with the judges in Lorain County. I think they do a splendid job, and we're there to review their work, so I'm familiar with it. I call us a court of error correction, meaning that our job is to review that record and decide if there was an error made. And sometimes there are, and you know, we set it back, and they do the right thing in practice. So, other than that, I have no issues.
So I'm going to focus my answer, on ways I think that we could improve the Ohio 9th District Court of Appeals, because we are judges, or we hopefully will be judges that serve on the Ohio 9th District Court of Appeals. One of the biggest things I would like to focus on is kind of demystifying what the Court of Appeals is. There are a lot of individuals who we would aim to serve, and we do serve, who aren't necessarily sure about what their appellate rights are, what the process is, where to even go, you know. As Judge Teodosio said, it is the working man's Supreme Court. And so it's a very, very important court, and it would be very, very important to make sure that people understand their rights as they work through the process. So I think working on community engagement, making sure that we are out in the community, as the judge mentioned, working with individuals, educating them on our programming, what that looks like, what the procedures are, just making ourselves more accessible. Additionally, I would like to expedite, if we could, in certain cases, decisions and results. What I have learned throughout my career and my life is that the decisions made inside of a courtroom impact people's daily lives. I never take that for granted, particularly in my capacity when I was practicing. People waiting for custody decisions, waiting to know what the results were going to be, so they knew what their Monday was going to look like. So those are the two areas I would like to focus on if I am elected to serve on the Ohio 9th District Court of Appeals. Thank you.
I as well will say that is a difficult question to ask of an appellate judge candidate. What I would like to do instead is focus on the things that I think are working well. I really enjoy the accessibility that's been increased due to the necessity of COVID. COVID created a lot of these wonderful electronic accessibility options that we have. I want to make courts continue to be accessible to all. I will say for our part at the Summit County Court of Common Pleas, we remained open every day. There was no day where the courts were closed to the people they serve, and that is an absolute must. I myself have had COVID twice as a result of being in the courts every day and having contact with the public to make sure their rights are protected to be in the public sphere of the courtroom. I love also the accessibility that the 9th District Court of Appeals, and I know Judge Teodosio works on in being in each of the 4 counties that is served by the 9th District Court of Appeals. The court will travel to the counties in which the cases apply and hear cases there. That is a very big plus and positive. As Magistrate Crowe said, however, I'm a different kind of judicial officer. I'm very accessible to the community and very involved with the community. You'll see when you look at my website, voorheesforjudge.com, that's 2 O's, 2 E's, and Voorhees, that I still serve with my community, and hunger relief is part of my heart that I serve continually and plan to continue serving. Thank you.
So because I have taken a great deal of involvement in being in the primary process and also getting out there and knowing our constituents, what I have realized is that nobody really knows what the court does. So what I would say is the biggest issue is that the connectedness between the judiciary and the community is just lost. One thing that I have done as a magistrate is handle my cases directly with the attorneys and the parties. So I go out and I meet the parties. I let them know that the time that their attorneys are billing them for is not wasted, that we are attempting to get their case done in the most speedy way that we can, but also that sometimes these things take time. And if you take the opportunity to explain to the public and the parties that come before you what is going on in the process and what is the role the court is taking, then they appreciate why things are taking so long. So I think the big divide between the mysteriousness of the judiciary happens to be my biggest issue that I see with the court and speaking to people as I'm out on this campaign. And in my experience, when people come in and they're like, wow, we got to meet somebody in the court. And I just find that very influential, that I would continue to do that and bring that to the court.
And now the final questions for our candidates. For Ms. Kobasher, what does justice mean to you? This is an audience member's question.
I appreciate that. Last week, Professor, I really appreciate that.
So I wear a feather around my neck, and I have one on my wrist. And what a feather represents is truth and honesty. I knew that I wanted to be a lawyer at a very young age because I grew up in a law enforcement family. And what I appreciate about our law enforcement is the sacrifices they make and the open dialogue that they have with the community. And as to sort of build upon what I had just said, the truth and honesty that justice represents to me is somewhat lacking. And so what I hope to do is bring forth some of the things that the court does and bring people and make them more engaged in what we do, so that when they get in a car accident, they aren't wondering why they aren't getting paid for 2 years. Or when they get injured on their job, they're not wondering why they never hear from anybody and don't receive a settlement. Or when they are charged with a crime and there's somebody they just don't know in a row. They have a little bit more experience because they have an open court. So truth and honesty is what justice needs to be.
Final question from the audience. Final two questions that are very similar, so I'll try to merge them. I think they may be unfair to Ms. Strohsack. This new remix question, super question is, suppose your opponent won, how would the court that you seek to preside over be different? And if your opponent were here, what would you say to them? So I don't know. I'm going to serve other people.
Comment too late. Okay.
And this is a question for all candidates except for Ms. Kobasher.
I'll do my best job. I believe the first part that had to do with how would the court be different if an opponent would win. I'm telling you from experience, I really thought I was going to jump into that judge position and, just take off, and I didn't think there was going to be such a learning curve. I can be honest with you now, right? I remember my pitch when I was campaigning was that I'm going to hit the ground running, and I did. But I still look back in awe on what a huge learning curve it really was. And I think any opponent coming in, if there were an opponent taking over my courtroom, it is going to take them, just as it took me, a lengthy period of time to really learn the ins and outs. Because a lot of us attorneys know how to work the courtroom, how to handle courtroom evidence, argue, all that great stuff. But what we don't know is the behind the scenes. There is so much that goes on behind the scenes. The 120 employees that we have in the court that I am responsible for, along with my other two judges. The HR issues with my with the staff. Just there's so much that is unknown that I feel that now I have the 6 years under my belt, and I'd say the first 3, although I hit the ground running, the first 3 I was learning. Even as an 18-year experienced attorney, I was learning. And now, the last 3, I feel like it was a good, smooth, well-oiled machine, and now I get to do that again starting January in my new term. So hope you hear good things and good new things that will be coming. Thank you.
Well, there's no doubt what my answer is to this one, and it's the experience that I just recited to you. Right now, our court is 5 judges, and only 2 of us have sat as trial court judges in the common pleas court. That would be Judge Callahan, who is retiring, and myself. And I can't tell you the number of times in our decisions where the other judges will look to me for my experience as a trial court judge. Has that issue come before you? Did the issue come before you? How did you handle it? So I think that's experience is a really, really important factor in an appellate court judge. And I'm proud to say in this race, it's unparalleled. My experience is far more extensive than my opponent. He's a nice man, but when you compare the experience of the 2 of us, we would be losing a lot if we were to win this race. Thank you.
So I will echo a lot of the sentiment expressed by Judge Teodosio. If my opponent were here, I would say thank you for coming. I don't have to say that. So let me tell you what would be the thank you. We have like our Court of Appeals here. She's fixing my mistakes. Thank you. Again, what Judge Teodosio said is the experience. That trial experience, that experience of prosecuting cases, that experience of standing next to people who have just been read a guilty verdict, explaining what that means to them. My opponent does not have that experience. Although my opponent has served as a judge in different capacities, I believe what I am bringing to this bench, or what I would like to bring to this bench, is that sense of public service. I know, looking out at all of you folks, and I thank you for your time and for being here, and Professor to the OCCN, is I do not feel entitled to this position. I am asking for you to look at my experience, look at my website, look at my credentials, and vote for me. There are some people that think they have this idea or this conception of what steps to take in their career and where they need to go and what a judge should be and look like, and that is not what I am doing. I'm not saying that is necessarily what my opponent is doing, but what I am telling you is I am seeking this position to truly make sure that you are receiving the best service possible in the Ohio District Court of Appeals, because I care about people, I'm passionate about the law, I have common sense, and that's what everyone in this room and in Summit, Lorraine, Wayne, and Dining counties deserves. Thank you.
And I believe I had the honor of answering the last question tonight. All right. So I will say, if my opponent were to win over me, nothing much would change because I am the only person on this stage running against an incumbent. But that being said, I am running to be the change and to expand some of the things that I just pointed out in my last answer that are great about the 9th District Court of Appeals. My opponent over here, I would tell her thank you and congratulations on her career. And I hope she is well, and that's not the reason that she's not here. But other than that, I have nothing that I would say. When I first met her, I committed that I would keep everything that I did to my principles and up at a very high level, and I continue to commit to doing that because that's what the people of Summit, Wayne, Lorraine, and the Dining counties deserve. Thank you.
This concludes the formal part of this evening's forum. We'd like to thank all of the candidates for coming and spending time with us. Thank you very much, audience, for your attendance and your attention. And we also can thank the co-coordinators of the OCCN Planning Committee, Myranda Montoye and Alison Rodger. Thanks also to our own personal Bryan. Thank you so much. Feel free to linger in the hallway with your candidates afterwards. Have a good night, everyone.
I've got one here. That was the only
Additionally, the Oberlin College Review that they do so you can fill out the survey or share your copy available to our folks around the room. And finally, you can go early or on to number 8. It's going to be open from 6 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. And good night. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for watching. We hope this recording of Oberlin Community Candidates Night will be helpful as you plan your vote. Early voting begins on October 12th, and of course, Election Day is November 8. This is Alison Ricker. On behalf of the OCCN Planning Committee, I thank you for being a good voter.